if it's important to you and you don't systematize it, you don't put process in place and systems in place to make it happen, you're going to end up where you are at the end of this coming year. You're not going to have made any progress, or you're going to have made mini progress. Like you made 2 steps forward when you should have made leaps because you didn't systematize it. You didn't put process in place. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Grit Meets Growth podcast, where we bring you inspiration and insights focused on getting uncomfortable, making things happen, and creating a magnetic life. If you enjoy the messages you're hearing here, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes of the podcast. With that, let's get after it. All right, so I'm diving right into something you just said to kick off this episode. We're not going to hold back. You just said something that hit for me, and it is going to probably, for our listeners, define everything moving forward. And it ties into something I've talked about a lot in the past. Be your own boss. Like, you got to propel yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. I like to position that as take extreme ownership. It's a Jocko thing. Take extreme ownership over everything in your life. No excuses. We've talked about no excuses a lot. Be your own boss. Hit on that for a second, because you're fired up today and I want to hear you talk about it, man. And this is a be careful what you ask for thing. So I might regret this later, but I want to hear where you're going with that.
Dude, we live in a world where people are getting soft. We live in Minnesota. It's been snowing, we've been getting rain and snow here for the last couple of days. Like, it snows in Minnesota. Because it snows, is that an excuse to now stay home? Like, there's still work to do. There's still business to be run. Like, get in your car and drive to work. Oh, well, I could be more productive if I stay home. Really? You'll be just as productive if you're sitting here than you are sitting at home. But what is happening is that drive in the snow is cutting into your time now. You have to be to work at 9 o'clock. If it's crappy weather, you might need to leave an hour earlier to get there. That's not on me as a business owner. That's on you. You own that. You own that to get to the office at 9 o'clock. Stop being soft. Pony up. Own your own stuff. Your work product, what you're delivering at the office. Own it. Don't just check the damn box that says, oh, I did this. Like, go above and beyond.
When you say check the box, I think that's a challenge for all of us. And I think we all have to look at our day, look at what we do over the course of the day, and divide it into 2 sections. Did I check the box? Or did I do something a little bit more? Because the second you start to settle for I checked the box, I did status quo, you start to slide into it's good enough. And the second you start to slide into it's good enough, I'm just going to say that's a dangerous place to be. Checking the box and good enough. I would challenge everybody listening to this to say that you're better than that. Everybody.
Yeah, dude, this pandemic drove everybody to check the box and run from a task list. Because guess what? I'm working from home now. I've got 5 things to check off the list today. These tasks I get done, and then I can go watch my soap opera. Or go play with the kids, which, okay, I understand that. But we need to move beyond this check the box task list. We need to get back to propelling our lives, the businesses that we work for, and the work that we do. We need to be propelling that forward. As a society, as the people, we as individuals need to own that.
And I'm gonna take it a step further. I don't even think it's just a work thing. Think about your relationships. Think about how you show up as a parent, how you show up as a friend, how you show up as a spouse. Think about your own personal relationship with yourself, how you show up in the gym, how you take care of yourself. Again, there's a tendency to want to just check the box. Yeah, I did it. Okay, did you do it? Or did you do it with some excellence? Because at the end of the day, I'd prefer to live life with a little bit of excellence and not just I checked the box, I got it done, I'm moving on.
Dude, let's talk about the gym for a second. It's not enough to just show up at the gym. If you're just showing up and going, hey, I worked out, I was at the gym, and you didn't really do anything, you didn't do anything to move and progress yourself forward, right? Whatever that choice is, whether it's weight loss or muscle growth or whatever it is, are you moving towards that goal? Are you doing the work to move towards it? Because guess what? I go to the gym for a half hour and then I go home and stuff my face with 3 donuts. I'm not doing the work. Right? I can't do that and still progress and still progress forward. I can't do that.
Well, and it even goes to and I see this all the time, the dude at the gym who does a little bit of work on a machine and then spends the next 10 minutes chasing down girls to talk to and is going to make it social hour instead of gym time. Like you got to do more than check the box. If all you're going for is checking the box and saying, yep, I did it, all good, I did it, I said I was going to show up at the gym and I did, you got to put the effort in. You have to own how you're going to show up. You have to own the results you're going to create. And this is like every piece of your life. We were talking about this earlier. You hit January 1st, which is this random day in the middle of the winter. It's really meaningless at the end of the day. January 1st is not any different than December 31st or January 2nd. It's just a line in the sand. But the beauty of that line in the sand is this. You have an opportunity to look backward a little bit. What did I learn over the last year? Look forward a little bit. Where do I want to go? Use that line in the sand to think about, was I just checking boxes this year, or was there other things were there other things in my life where I was doing a little bit more than that? And I can say, yeah, I actually hit that out of the park. Now's your time to assess.
And guess what? If you show up December 31st and go, I'm going to change the world tomorrow, you failed. You ought to be planning for that stuff right now, thinking about it, going through it, making the effort. Stop half-assing shit all the time. We just had a post from last year about half-assing. It was like 2 days ago, a year ago. Don't half-ass. People are freaking half-assing everything. Stop with the half-ass shit. Go all in.
This is your chance just to take that a step further. This is your chance. This is the time to decide who you want to become, to start to paint a picture of the person you want to become. Think about what you look like in 5 years. If you become the person that you're trying to be, what's that going to look like? Paint that picture for yourself and then start to make some mental notes and even grab a piece of paper, make some physical notes. This person does this. They eat this, they do this, they show up like this. What does that person look like? And then that gives you the opportunity to start to implement some of the traits and some of the actions that person you want to become does. You're not there yet, but that's going to get you on your way. If you don't do that in a year and in 3 years and 5 years, you're still going to be looking at that person you want to become, and you're not going to be there because you haven't defined it and you haven't done the work. You haven't owned your results even from the beginning of just thinking about it.
We're coming into that time of year that everybody wants change, right? Everybody makes New Year's resolutions. People want to talk about change. They want to change their life. They want to change their way. They want to change the way they, friendships that they have. They want to change, their friendship and with their spouse. But they half-ass it all. And they want to stay status quo. They still are surrounded by the same people with the same ideas. You got to shake that tree loose, man. And there's going to be people that fall off. You got to pay attention to those in your life and how those people treat you. Pay attention to how they're treating you. It's going to give you that indication of what you allow in your life and how you allow people to treat you. And this is a big piece of it. Stop allowing the half-ass people in your life. Stop allowing the bullshit in your life. Put your foot down and think about those in your life and what is happening and what you're doing to control that situation. You get to control that. Put people in your life that make you better, not drag you down. And if they're dragging you down, then shake them loose, man.
Where you're going with that, you have to define what your non-negotiables are. What is not okay in your life that you're not going to tolerate? And that can be people. It can be the 3 donuts. It can be not getting out of bed in the morning to do what you said was important. But you got to define what's non-negotiable for me. What are those lines? What's that box that I'm going to live in? This is what I'll tolerate. This is what I won't. From other people and from yourself, if you start to frame that up and you start to understand, I said I wasn't going to tolerate this, but this is what I'm getting. I said I wasn't going to do this, but this is what I'm doing. I said I wasn't going to accept this, but this is what I'm accepting. You start to frame that up and put some fences up. Now you can keep out the bad stuff, let the good stuff in. Things are naturally going to move in a good direction if you do that. But most people don't know what they don't tolerate because they've never thought about it. They've never put the work in to think about who they want to be, who they want to become, how they're going to get there, and what they don't want to tolerate. It starts with thinking about it. Everything in your life starts with a thought. Where you are right now is because of how you thought. You thought your way into where you are today. You're going to think your way out of it, but you have to make time to think. Think about what you're thinking about and where that's going to take you. Most people don't do that. Think about what you're thinking about. The majority of people are not spending any time on that. They go through life, they coast, they float. They're not headed in any particular direction because they've never defined what that direction is, and they've never put guardrails up over where their mind takes them. And by not putting up guardrails over where your head takes you, it takes you where it wants to go. It takes you down the path of the negativity that's on the news. It takes you down the path of negative friendships. It takes you down the path of negative thinking in your work and with your goals. You spend more time listening to the lies because you haven't put any barriers up to keep the lies out.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, you're the only one that's accountable. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's going to do it for you. You are accountable to yourself and the loved ones in your life. That's it. Put in the work. Own it, man. You have to do that. Don't rely on your employer, your friends, the news media, social media to tell you the lies and proliferate the lies. Own it. Know what you need. Know what you accept. And move forward.
That's what this time of year is it's an opportunity. Take inventory, see where you're at, see where you want to go, and move forward.
And that's all great and fine and dandy. But you gotta operationalize it. It's one thing to just sit and think about it and write these things down. But if you're not making movement forward to address those things and you're not doing the consistent work, you're going to fail. People are going to make New Year's resolutions, and in 17 days, they're going to throw it out the window. Because guess what? It's hard. Yeah, it's supposed to be hard. The hard stuff is what makes the changes. Embrace it. Become friends with the challenge.
So, Chris, here's my question for you, and this is we can't lose what you just said here. Operationalize it. I have a pretty good idea where you're going with that. Talk about it for a second. How do you operationalize your life to move things forward? What does that look like on your side of the world?
Take all of those thoughts that you're having and those goals that you write down and put activity to it. What does it take? What does it look like? If I'm going to improve the relationship with my wife, then I need to put in the work and be able to listen and not come from a one-way perspective. It's not only my perspective in that matters, right? I also have to come from a caring and nurturing perspective. If I want to lose 15 pounds or more in the coming year, then I have to build a plan and I have to operationalize that. I have to get to the gym 3 to 5 days a week. I have to lift weight, right? I have to move weight. I have to move my body for 30 minutes a day. I have to drink the water. I have to get my diet in check so that I'm eating the right amount of protein and the right amount of carbs and the right amount of fats. I have to operationalize that. I have to make that become habit for me. And so, it takes 21 days of consistent work in order to make something a habit.
I'm gonna take that and run with it for a second. That idea of operationalizing your life, putting systems in place. One of the things I started doing about 4 years ago is at the beginning of the week, I map out my calendar for the week. I know exactly on every single day what meetings I have, where I'm going to be, how long it's going to take me to get from meeting to meeting. I don't plan every minute by any stretch, but I know how I'm going to spend my time over the course of a day and where I'm going to be. Then I take that and I apply it to every day. Every day I start by filling out a sheet where I walk through my projects and I know exactly what's on my plate for that day. What's important? What are the really important things that are non-negotiable? I have to get this done today. And where does that fit into my schedule? I know exactly what my goals are. Beginning of every week, I'm looking at my goals and I'm jotting down things that I need to do that week to get those goals done. And then I'm scheduling time in my calendar, at least 3 days a week, if not 4, where I put an hour at least toward each of those goals, where I turn off anything that I'm doing for clients and I focus on the goal. What's the goal? And how am I going to spend time this week? I'm going to calendar it. I'm going to put time in that's blocked off that is not going to go toward anything else. I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to work on my goals. There's this whole system and process that I've put in place to be able to do all of those things. Like if it's important to you and you don't systematize it, you don't put process in place and systems in place to make it happen, you're going to end up where you are at the end of this coming year. You're not going to have made any progress, or you're going to have made mini progress. Like you made 2 steps forward when you should have made leaps because you didn't systematize it. You didn't put process in place. That's the key. You got to figure out what that looks like for you, but that's the key. You have to create some of those daily rituals, those habits, those little things like we've talked about that you're going to do over and over and over again every day, whether you're excited to do it or it sucks, that you're going to continue to do all the time and move forward. That's how you make progress at things.
And check in and audit that, right? Because it's one thing to put them on the calendar, right? Are you holding true to what you have as your calendar? And I would also challenge you to start color coding your calendar. I've been in sales for a long time. Any activity on my calendar that's generating revenue or has potential to generate revenue is green. Any family related stuff has its own color. Personal appointments have their own color. So that I can look at it and go, am I putting in the work in the right areas at a glance. I don't have to look at each one of those activities. All I have to do is look at my calendar and go, man, is there enough green on it? Is there enough purple on it to making sure that I'm spending the time that I need to with my family? Is there enough whatever, right? Whatever my goals are, is my calendar and the appointments on it built to help me achieve the goals? That's how you systemize things. That's how you operationalize it.
And those things you just talked about, those are all lead indicators. If too often we look at the result and we're like, why didn't we hit our result? Well, it's because you didn't do the work to get to the result first. So now your calendar, you can look at it and you can say, I've got green blocked off in this many spots. Every one of these spots represents activity that's going to lead me toward my goal. As long as those spots are there, I know I'm going to reach my goal. It could be the same thing could be, I've got 4 slots over the course of the week that are dedicated to time in the gym. I know that's my lead indicator. If I do those 4 things, I know I'm going to get the result. I can't not. But too often we get to the end of a month, we're like, well, I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. Well, go back. Like, you're looking at it too late. If that's how you're going to measure, you're measuring it too late. You need to measure the activity on the front that's going to lead to the goal, knowing that if you do the activity, you're going to reach the goal. That's how you measure it. It's exactly what you're talking about with the green on the calendar, man.
But you're not going to achieve your goal by just that. Like, you have to also take a look at the effort. What is the effort that it's going to require? Like, it may be great to have that as a goal for the end of this month. But if there isn't enough time based on everything else that I have going on in my life, I can't uphold myself to that and say, I'm going to achieve that. There's not the time in my calendar. That's why, keep coming back to this calendar today. But use it to help drive you forward, making sure that you are aligned correctly as onto what you want to achieve. If you have a goal in 30 days to achieve it, but you really only have 5 days worth of effort to be able to apply to it, are you going to achieve it? And yes, I'm yelling today.
But okay, so here's my take on that. I got 5 days to achieve it. If I knock out something else on my calendar that's a waste of time, does that buy me a 6th day or a 7th day?
Sure.
There's plenty of stuff. Like, if I go to my calendar and I look at it, there's plenty of stuff on there that is not moving anything forward. And some of it's still good stuff, but not all of it. There's still plenty of wasted time in there that if I optimize that time, I can buy myself an extra hour. And then you multiply an extra hour. If you bought yourself an extra hour every day and you took that extra hour and found an extra hour 5 days a week, you just bought yourself an extra 5 hours a week. Now multiply that out by 52 weeks a year. You just found yourself 250 hours of extra time just by finding 1 hour a day. That's oversimplifying it. I get, like, people are going to hear that and go, well, I don't have an extra hour a day. Maybe you don't, but maybe you do. Maybe if you knock out some of the dumb stuff that you do, maybe you do have an extra hour a day. And I'm preaching to myself when I say that, because I've knocked out dumb stuff. An hour watching the news? What am I going to do with an hour watching the news? You want to talk about a waste of time? There's your waste of time. What'd you say?
Get pissed off.
Yeah, right. It didn't build anything up. I watched the news and I can already tell you what happened on the news before the news even starts. The weather's terrible. The economy's up and down. There's probably a murder. Okay. Like, and all of that on some level is important stuff, but I can't do anything about it. What I can do is look at that hour that I was going to spend watching the news, and I can say, all right, what if I did something different with that time? We all have opportunities. Time is the variable. We all have the same amount. You can't buy more of it. You'll never have less of it. We all have the same amount. You can optimize it though. You can systematize it. You can do things to maximize how you spend it.
The best advice that I've implemented over the last year was part of 75 Hard, and I've continued on with that. And that's reading 10 pages a day. I've read 22 books this year. By reading 10 pages a day. That's it. It's simple. It's simple, man. 10 pages a day is nothing.
Did you have days?
Some days you read more than 10 pages, right? Because you're sucked in and you've got the time, but it's not hard. It's small changes that make big splashes.
Do you have days where you didn't feel like it?
Hell yeah. I guarantee you there's something every day I don't feel like doing. But I do it anyway.
Did
I feel like driving into work today in the snow? No. But guess what? I had stuff to do and things that required me to be at the office.
I had 5 buddies this morning that were grabbing breakfast, and we had scheduled this a long time ago, and then it snowed. And it was 6 a.m. It was dark. And the question was, not knowing on the way there, who's going to show up? Who's going to show up and come, even though it's snowing out, even though it's dark? Every one of those guys was there. And it was it was the best thing I'm going to do all day was having breakfast with these guys. I didn't feel like getting out of bed this morning. I didn't feel like going, but there is something powerful that happens when you take something you don't feel like doing and you go do it anyway. And you wrestle yourself down to the ground and say, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. There's something powerful about doing that. Doing the stuff you don't feel like and showing up for yourself.
How did that make you feel? What were those emotions that you felt this morning?
When I rolled in there to Panera, because it's the only thing that was open at 6 a.m. where we could grab coffee. When I rolled in there and I saw those 5 trucks sitting outside, and I knew that every one of those guys showed up exactly the way I did, like it was actually emotional to know that I had a band of guys who would do that for each other, first of all. And second of all, to know I could have picked something different. I could have picked the easy route, which would have been stay home, stay in bed, don't get up early. It snowed out. You better not go anywhere. I could have done that, but it felt good driving in there and saying, yeah, you know what? I did this. I was actually proud of myself for showing up. And it's going to be the highlight of my day because I did something I didn't feel like doing. Did it anyway.
I got a question for you. Did you shovel your driveway before you left this morning?
I did. Felt good. Why do you ask?
Because who the hell would not shovel their driveway before they drove on it? That's craziness. I shoveled the driveway at 5:30 this morning. I had to get up early in order to do it. You don't drive on the snow on your driveway.
Pack it all down and get it all mashed in there so it'll never come back up for the rest of the winter.
Wet, sticky crap. It's going to be there for the rest of the winter. Small things, man. They add up. It's what you do when nobody's watching. It's what you do for yourself. We all have it within us. We just have to choose to do it. Stop listening to what everybody's telling you to do and do what you need to do. Own your life, man. Own it.
Do it for yourself. Don't do it for anybody else. That's the other danger in this conversation is all of this stuff we're talking about. You don't do it for anyone other than yourself.
Well, everybody else becomes a byproduct of that. You
Yes.
get better at the work that you do at your office. You get better at your relationships with your spouse. You get better at your relationships with your friends if you're making yourself better. But it all starts with you.
That's the opportunity we have coming up. The timing of this conversation is perfect. You were fired up this morning. It would have been easy maybe to skip this and say, we're going to do this a different time, but this is the conversation that needed to happen today. And this is as you guys are listening to this and you're getting fired up about the next year and where you're going in 2023, this is the conversation we all needed to hear. I needed to hear it. And it's going to set the tone for where you're going, what you're going to work on, and the results you're going to achieve in the new year. That's it. Right here, right now. This is the conversation we all needed to hear. So,
and by all means, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year. Make it a great day and get after it.
that wraps it up for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being part of the Grit Meets Growth tribe. And thanks for growing along with us and being part of this journey together. If you know someone who needs to hear the conversation we had today, please share it. If you got something out of this conversation, please leave us a review. And finally, if you want to make sure you don't miss future episodes, just remember to subscribe. We're thankful for each and every one of you. And as my co-host and good friend Chris Cathers always says, make it a great day.